Welcome to Ecom Unlock, a curated expert series where leading voices in e-commerce, compliance, logistics, and commerce technology unpack what's really driving international growth today. Each episode, we sit down with real experts to explore the trends reshaping global online sales, the real blockers to international expansion, and the strategies behind today's fastest scaling brands. The goal is simple: practical insights you can apply immediately. Hi, I'm Danny Viniegra, and today is our first episode, and I'm joined by Ben Weir, CEO at Unsociable, a TikTok shop first agency helping brands unlock serious growth through the platform. Ben, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Danny. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm honored that I'm your first episode as well.
Well, the honor is ours. Thanks, Ben. So let's get to the chase. Let's talk about serious stuff. So, what does a successful TikTok shop growth strategy look like today?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot in the time that I've been operating on the platform. Before it was a lot easier to gain traction. Like if you had solid product and creators, then you could just fly. And whilst that is still the case, like that's still your fundamentals. I think that the smart brands and retailers are thinking about TikTok Shop as part of a wider holistic marketing mix. So launching products that are going to be social first, designed to have a moment, and with TikTok Shop leading the chase on that, and being your kind of what your shop window to the world almost, the first thing that people see when they see the brand and product, and then they want to learn more, they want to explore more, and because what TikTok Shop is essentially is discovery commerce. So I think the best brands are not just thinking about like how can I win on TikTok Shop, they're thinking about how can I design things before I even launch on TikTok Shop that are going to win. And if you get that part right, then everything downstream from it becomes easier. So that's really where we've come as a business, is helping brands like right from the start, one step further back in the value chain. But then once you've got that part right and you've got a good story for the platform, then it's about the quality of creators that you work with. So once you got the right product strategy, then you want to get the right creators that can tell that story at scale. And then you've got the other bells and whistles to add on top of a really successful TikTok shop strategy, which is what we hear people talking about all the time, is live commerce, 100%. And then that's this whole other kettle of fish when you have to design products for lives as well.
Okay.
And then the last part is like paid media amplification. So you really want to, once you've got those winning pieces of creative from the creators and that story told at scale, then you're going to amplify it with paid media. So those are the kind of four components. I'll summarize them again just quickly. So you've got product strategy, which, as I said, the best brands and retailers starts before the platform. Then you want to amplify that with creators, and let them tell the story at scale. And then live streaming is going to help act as bottom of funnel, but also top of funnel awareness. And then paid media is going to amplify the whole thing. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the four steps. Sounds really simple when I explain it like that, but it can be a lot more difficult in practice.
It is, and I think you explained it in the right way, and it's important to have a clear path to that because nowadays it's complicated to understand this complexity. So it's great that you explain it so simple. That definitely helps brands understanding much better what to do. So, in your opinion, I mean, and it probably would follow up into what you just said now. What differentiates brands that are achieving sustained growth from those that are losing the momentum? I mean, obviously, having that four steps in the strategy is very important. But what else you could think or you can add here?
Yeah, there's a really clear difference between the brands that are truly winning and brands that aren't. And I think there's two big competitive advantages that you can gain on the platform. So I spent a lot of time in the last question talking about product strategy, but it really is the difference maker between the brands that are absolutely killing it and the brands that are struggling on the platform. Like when you're bringing out a product, or you're even if you're not bringing out a new product, if you're designing a product strategy for the platform, then you really need to think about what the story is that you're going to tell. And that's what brands do incredibly well. Like one of my favorite um, businesses that trade on the platform globally, but particularly in the UK market, is L'Oreal, L'Oreal Group. So like the brands that they've launched on TikTok Shop, every product they hit all of the right notes. It's like I want to stop the scroll with this product, so I want an amazing visual that's going to draw people in. Whether that's the packaging or whether that's the actual product itself, they're amazing at doing that, stopping the scroll, and then telling the consumer a really clear story of why they need this product in their life. You know, it's like marketing 101, but when it's done really well on TikTok Shop. That is one of the biggest differentiator. So that's the one big bucket I'd say. And you see that across, look at every top selling product on the platform. You see the theme coming across. It's like, okay, that's up the scroll. That told me a story. That's something new. That's something exciting. See every single product. The only caveat I'd add to that is some brands and products are driven by price, which is the story they're telling. That's fine too. That's just a different way of doing things. So those are the people that are absolutely not in that bucket. Bucket number two is your creators. So the brands that are absolutely winning on the affiliate front, and as hopefully most people should know in ecom, affiliates is the main driver of sales on TikTok
Mhm.
Shop. So that's creators that are acting on an affiliate model, posting content on your
Mhm.
behalf. That's the main driver of sales on TikTok Shop. If you really want to win, you need to treat these people amazingly well. Like these are your salespeople. So the brands that are winning are getting that bucket right, and then once they've got that, they're really working with their creators extremely closely. I heard of brands that are bringing their creators into NPD meetings to sit and look at
Wow.
the products with them,
Wow.
and come up with ideas because they know eventually that's the person that's going to tell the
Yeah.
story that's going to sell the product.
They need
So
to
they
be
want they want
motivated.
them involved.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so yeah, there's lots of ways to do that second bucket, and lots of ways to do that first bucket too. But those are the two, like if I could boil it down in a nutshell, those are the two things I would say are differentiating the brands that are in the top 10 rankings every month from everyone else.
Okay. That's super interesting, and it's definitely a game changer. That's why I always say that TikTok is a different animal in the sales channels. You cannot think the same way. So thinking on these other channels, how once TikTok Shop is working and starting and it's really creating an impact. What is that impact that you typically see in other channels like websites, D2C, Amazon, or other retail channels?
So this is probably one of the biggest talking points within the industry right now, and one of my favorite things to talk about, because no one's really like properly formed a full picture of this yet. But there's lots of little examples of it doing well. So we call it the halo effect, essentially, is what you're alluding to there, which is basically because TikTok Shop, the way that it operates as a channel, it's a lot different from like an Amazon or an ASOS or anywhere else where the customer goes on with intent. So with most marketplaces, customers go on with intent. So most marketplaces are essentially demand capture. People are going on to search for what they already want.
Mhm.
What's happening on TikTok Shop is demand generation. So we're actually inspiring people on the feed to think about buying products that they previously hadn't thought about buying before. That's the
Mhm.
most common thing that happens on TikTok Shop. So you can imagine every time you do that with a new consumer, whether they buy there and then in the platform or whether they buy at a later date, you are creating new customers all the time. And we don't like no one in the industry fully knows the scale of what we're doing because it's like if we compare it to traditional like billboard advertising, right? Like if you put a billboard campaign out there, if you get a billboard in Times Square, you know that sales increase, but you don't know for sure that sales increase because of that billboard, the sales increase because your like Doug that loves your product said to his wife that the products are amazing. You don't
Definitely.
really know for sure, um, but you do know that it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's having this profound impact on other channels, and we do have better ways to measure this to some extent now. Like we do know when we plug in software into your D2C and Amazon, we can see a clear cut. Still not exact because we can't track users across
Mhm.
different apps, but we can profile them so that we can find some similarities. So it's really good to encouraging to see that tech's starting to catch up because everyone knows how big a deal this is. But what we've done in the past is this concept I call the pocket test. So it's a thing we came up with for a big electronics brand that we were pushing in the US. And basically they had a coffee machine product, Danny, that was an extremely slow mover for them. So it was on Amazon, it was on D2C, it was in Walmart, it was in Target, but it just was not moving at the pace that a company of this size would normally expect to see. So it was going on what they call a slob list, which is like slow moving SKUs, and it meant it was probably going to be pulled out of retail very soon, and not prioritized on Amazon and D2C. But we saw it and we thought it as a product that had a really interesting story to tell. That it just hadn't been told very well yet. It hadn't had a medium to tell that story. So we said, give us it for TikTok Shop. And they agreed. And I was like, okay, great. So our team took it, pushed it on TikTok Shop. Within 10 days, that one product had done over $300,000 in sales.
Wow.
But what
Wow.
also happened was it got 11 million views in that period of time. 11 million views, quite a lot of people.
Wow.
That's not a shabby number. But those 11 million views meant that people started to convert on that product on Amazon, on D2C, on Walmart, on Target. And bear in mind, this is slow moving SKU. There's no other marketing at all in this product, right? Within 4 weeks, we sold out of it across the business between TikTok Shop and all the other channels.
Hmm.
Sold out all the stock in Walmart, sold out all the stock in Target, and there was no other marketing done on this product. So it kind of proved to that business there was this undeniable halo effect because they had moved
Definitely.
this SKU for a year and a half, and then suddenly it's all out of stock. So examples like
Definitely.
that are amazing because they're irrefutable. You can have all the data in the world, but when you actually see it in action, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, we are seeing it. It's so important to track all the different transactions, everything that is happening, and all the different costs, so you understand your P&L properly, so you can invest more in what's giving you more, more return on investment. And that's the beauty with technology. We're allowed to do that and to measure. So important, especially for those that make those decisions in investing more. So. How can, in your view, how can brands intentionally design their own TikTok strategy to drive this growth beyond TikTok itself? I mean, how can they push in what you said, in the different channels, and how can they have a more holistic view on how to grow and be successful?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it almost ties into all three of the questions that we've spoken about so far. So you've heard me talk a lot already about how important product strategy is. We've got an internal framework for this, but our belief is, and we've shown this time and time again with many brands that we work with, if you design a product for TikTok Shop first, then you're going to prove it out so that other channels want that product and the demand is there. So it's not just about halo impact. Yes, that is a factor. It's about how can I how can I create something new that people really want, which is like honestly, it's what consumer product businesses do 101, right? They're trying to build a product that people want.
Right.
The difference is making people want it has changed slightly. So it's a very different experience when you put a product on a store shelf or when you put a product on Amazon as it is to TikTok Shop. And I think there's a great subcategory to look at is like supplements for this because you see the best selling supplements on Amazon, you see the best selling supplements in retail, and then look at the best selling supplements on TikTok Shop. And it's a huge part of the business, and there's a clear fundamental difference. And there's a few things that's different. So a big part of that, and what we've got for our product framework, where you create a product for TikTok Shop, is stop the scroll. So the biggest supplement brands that you see on TikTok Shop, the packaging is just brighter. Like there's more to it than the best selling supplement brands that you see on Amazon or that you see in retail. Because they need to stop the scroll and grab the user's attention. So things need to be a bit brighter and a bit more eye-catching. Um, on top of that, the stories that they're telling are very different. So there's a novelty aspect to it. And you've seen that trend, like a lot of the ingredients that have trended over the past few years on TikTok Shop that have then ultimately carried over to other channels. There's just been a new story told, essentially. You look at products like Shilajit or vitamin D3 coming back into the fray when it had taken like a bit of a turn in terms of being talked about. There was one recently. Collagen's huge right now on the platform. So it's these stories that are being amplified by TikTok Shop. Yes, they might already be in the zeitgeist elsewhere, but there's a really specific narrative driving on TikTok Shop. And when you can do that, when you can stop the scroll, when you can get people to buy on TikTok Shop, when you can get them to buy into a new story that you're trying to tell,
Mhm.
then that will start to impact your wider business because what will happen when you get those things right? The sales will pick up on TikTok Shop. You'll get that halo impact, but also 33% of the UK use
Mhm.
TikTok every single day. So the amount of people that's going to see your brand and product, it's not just people that are customers, it's buyers from retail.
Mhm.
And we've
Mhm.
seen this loads of times, the amount of brands that we've created a viral product that then retail is wanted, and they've ended up with a huge part of their business in retail that's all started from TikTok Shop. And that's because they got that first part right, Danny, and then it's carried through to the wider business. So
Okay.
that's why it's so important to be able to stop the scroll and tell the story that you want to tell, so that you can create a model that goes beyond just TikTok Shop.
Cool. It's truly amazing how the things are going the way around, how retailers are now following the trends, But still, just let's talk briefly on what you were mentioning early on and the importance of the creator side and how all these content creators, paid media work together to try to unlock this scalable performance. Uh, how do you see it when you work with them? How does it work?
Yeah, so obviously spent a lot of time talking about getting the right product. That's important for the creators too, because if you don't give them a good offering that they want, and when I say offering, there's a few different parts to that. Creators just don't really care. They're like really smart. A lot of them have been doing this a long time, depending on which market you're in. Um, but they know what sells essentially on the platform. So you need to go to them with a really clear, compelling offer in terms of like give them product they can actually sell. So you need to do your job on that part. But then beyond that, you need to arm them with the tools that they need to actually be able to go and make content that's going to convert. And how do you do that? Briefing packs are amazing. So if you create very specific briefs that you want creators to do, a lot of them end up not following it anyway. But if you can get them in the right direction, then that's the best thing to do. What we do a lot is work. We've got kind of go-to creators within each category that we go to that can create very specific content that we know is likely to convert or at least start the conversion wheel turning, and
Mm-hmm.
then other people will pick up on it. And then what will happen at some point in time, if you've given your creators a really good offer, given them a really good briefing, offered them a strong incentive, you will likely get a piece of viral content within that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when things really start to get exciting because that's going to open the door for you to get a lot more creators in easier. So like once you start to go viral and the flywheel starts turning, creators really see that and then they want to double down on it. So you get a much larger appetite for creators to not only work with you on a broader scale, but also to create more specific content because they want a piece of that pie. They'll see the other creator going viral and they want to know how can I do that? So once you've got a winning piece of creative or two, use those, leverage those, go to creators and say, hey, this is what worked, this generated X amount of sales, this is how much commission this creator made. Do you want to recreate it? Do you want to try it with this different hook, this different CTA, or we're doing an even better offer on that product, or we've turned it into a bundle, something like that, to inspire that creator to create another similar piece of content. Because if something's worked already, then there's a decent chance that it'll work again in a slightly different format. And we're all different as human beings, so different names, shapes, ages, faces, races, like everything is important. So if you can recreate the same psychological cues, but with those variety of different creators, then that's a recipe for success.
Cool, cool. Very, very, indeed, very important. When you see these brands are trying to scale really fast, what do you think are the most common mistakes that they make?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's quite a lot of mistakes that brands can make. Um, it's really easy to dive into TikTok Shop and compare it to another channel that you've done previously and think it's all the same. So there's two ways I see brands go wrong. If it's the marketing team, they often think it's just the same as TikTok. So they go on, they make content, they work with like a handful of creators. They kind of don't push, they don't have any specific product strategy design, and they think it's going to work and it flops, and then they think that TikTok Shop doesn't work as a channel. I see that happen all the time. Less so now, but it's happened a lot over the past couple of years. So that's one big mistake is don't think that TikTok Shop's anything like what you're doing on organic TikTok or D2C TikTok because it's not the same and the same stuff will not work. The other big mistake I see brands getting wrong is on the opposite side where they've got an Amazon team or a marketplace team that really understand marketplace trading. That's great. There is really good transferable skills there. The TikTok shop because there is the whole marketplace trading element to it. Um, but they think that they can go on and use the same tactics as Amazon. So they go on, they optimize the product listings, they put some ads on and everything like that. And they don't understand that there is this whole other storytelling piece to TikTok shop that you need to get right. And then the creator piece and the live piece. And that's just stuff that a lot of businesses, and I get it because you see it, it's another marketplace channel. You want to go in at it with the same team and the same approach. But it doesn't work. And if you actually want to do well on TikTok Shop, you need to cut through the noise. That's another way that's different from Amazon or other marketplaces. You don't get like trickle through of sales, it's kind of all or nothing. It's like you get a handful of sales or you'll go viral, basically. There's a few examples, but there isn't much in between.
Mm,
And it's typically not this gradual
mm.
build up. It's usually hockey stick. So to do that, you need to get things absolutely right, and that requires expertise.
Definitely. I mean, we always encourage brands to if they're starting to at least to chat with you with experts that understand the complexities of this channel. As I said, I always say the same word. This is a different animal. So don't take it as usual. Don't think the same way. You have to think differently. Um,
Definitely. And even if you're not working with an agency, like just properly research it,
Definitely.
like spend time. There's a lot more good information out there the past 6 months to a year than there ever has been. So if you do the work on your own, then you could
Yeah.
also arm yourself better. But just don't work on like a false assumption that it's the same as TikTok or the same as Amazon because
Yeah.
it's not.
Definitely. So we have a little bit less than 2 minutes to finish up, but I don't want to finish without um, what would be the advice that you give to a brand, that is really thinking now, as you were saying earlier, thinking of TikTok, going to TikTok, you know, whether they decide to go with an agency like your agency or whether they decide to go there with their own team, and what is this advice that you would give them to make it successful?
So I'm going to sound a bit like a cheesy salesman here, with trying to create some FOMO. I'm not. This is just my actual belief. Uh, you need to go on TikTok Shop in the next 6 to 12 months. Like you absolutely need to do that. I already see the platform getting harder, and you literally will miss out if you don't. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be the fringe cases where brands just come in and they absolutely fly, and there'll be huge brands that come in and people just want to work with them. But I think there's only so many affiliates on the platform. There's only so many consumers buying on the platform, although it is a huge number. And what we see on TikTok Shop, that's the disparity between the top shops and everyone else. So if you want to be really successful on the platform, there's only so much room to do that. And I think that the opportunity right now is speed. So I think in every market that's open, every Western market, sorry, there's more saturation in China and Southeast Asia, but every Western market that's open, there's still a big, wide open opportunity to go at, but it's closing all the time. So I think that the brands that will win will be the ones that really invest in it and go into it now. The ones that don't, will, as harsh as it sounds, be left behind for the most part.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Ben. It was very insightful, and we appreciate your time today and your expertise.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. Nice to chat to you, Dan.
Thank you.